Shout out to our sponsor, Blue Apron.
For less than $10 per meal, Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes with ingredients and step-by-step instructions that make cooking easy.
It could be very impressive. Check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping when you visit blueapron.com/theknow. Welcome to The Know. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm Mica Burton.
Nintendo has some big mobile games in the works, and not just talking about for the Switch.
According to the Wall Street Journal, Nintendo is currently making a Legend of Zelda game for smartphones that could be released in the next year or so.
That's like printing money.
It is also following its mobile Animal Crossing game that's due out later this year.
Meanwhile, we also learned from the same report that the Pokemon Company is working on a new mobile card-based Pokemon game that's not Pokemon Go. There's already a Pokemon trading card game available on tablets, but this one would be the first mobile game from the Pokemon Company since the big success of Pokemon Go last year.
These new games are more signs that Nintendo continues to be dragged kicking and screaming into the world of mobile games, despite insisting for years that it would not bring its first-party franchises to smartphones or other mobile devices.
Well, and I get why, but about 2 years ago, Nintendo finally gave in and announced a plan to start making mobile games. Since then, they released Miitomo, Super Mario Run, Fire Emblem Heroes. The upcoming Zelda game is being developed by Nintendo's mobile partner, the Japanese developer Dina. Both companies declined to comment on the story, though. They don't want to announce it just yet.
It makes sense that Nintendo would be developing a mobile Zelda game because the franchise is currently riding a huge surge in popularity.
You could say
thanks
that.
to, you know, that small game Breath of the Wild. How that would translate to mobile remains to be seen, though, especially because Zelda is known for having a vast, expansive open world that doesn't easily translate to the confines of a mobile game.
2D Zelda confirmed!
2D Zelda confirmed! Plus, action games are notoriously tough to do on mobile, but all that being said, if anyone can figure it out, Nintendo can.
They've got a pretty solid track record so far. I mean, minus, a lot of people didn't end up purchasing the full version of Super Mario Run because they'd rather spend $1 at a time than $10 at once. But the gameplay was still interesting.
It was fun.
It was reminiscent of a Mario game without being exactly the same, so that it doesn't take the place of a proper Mario title.
Solid music. Nintendo can probably pull off something awesome. And it's also worth noting, Ars Technica points out that Nintendo has some experience making Zelda games that work on touchscreens. You can control both Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks by touch. Of course, those games weren't, good, but they exist,
But
so
they could be.
They could be.
This time. Another big question about a mobile Zelda game is how it's going to actually make money. So, as we were talking about the Super Mario Run, it basically costs $10 up front to unlock all the stages. Meanwhile, there's other games like Fire Emblem Heroes and Pokemon Go. Now, they use microtransactions, which allow players to buy things like more characters or Pokeballs for smaller amounts at a time. And it's clear so far that microtransactions make way more money than the flat fee approach of Super Mario Run. A lot of people didn't make the conversion on that game.
Despite being downloaded 10 times less than Mario Run, Fire Emblem Heroes makes more money. You can ask my wallet. And Nintendo confirmed this last month.
They specifically said Mika's wallet is empty.
Mika's wallet is very empty thanks to us. Company president Tatsumi Kimishima said in March that Super Mario Run didn't meet expectations, but that Nintendo would continue to make games under the premium mobile game business model, meaning charging a higher price for games up front rather than the free-to-play model that utilizes microtransactions.
Well, I don't know though. It's pretty clear that the microtransaction model of games like Pokemon Go and Fire Emblem Heroes, while admittedly disliked by a lot of players because it feels like they're constantly nickel and diming you, well, they make a lot more money than a flat fee like we've seen in Super Mario Run, so we as gamers are the problem. They try and do something nice, like not charge us over and over and over again, and then no one pays them. So in order to have be competitive in the market, I don't know, microtransactions might be the thing.
We are the problem, aren't we?
We're the problem.
Which, leads to the question, if the Zelda mobile game does use microtransactions, what in the world would that look like?
Oh, what about real world money for pretend rupees?
I'd do it. Don't even joke about that.
It probably would.
Or, maybe we'll see an open world style game like classic Zelda, but players can buy progression items early, or you could pay for new dungeons and gear. Maybe you could buy bombs right off the bat.
Buy extra hearts.
Why not? $40 and you get the Master Sword. Screw it.
Right, just skip all of it.
Pay to win, yo.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see what it ends up actually looking like, but it's not hard to imagine that Nintendo might move to a more microtransaction-based formula after the relative failure of Super Mario Run, because like it or not, paying for items is more and more a way of life these days, especially when it comes to mobile games. That's just the way the mobile audience is used to working.
Overall, Nintendo hasn't seen a ton of success with mobile, commercially at least. Mobile games brought in less than $176 million for the company for the fiscal year that just ended in March. And while that seems like a lot of money, the general feeling among analysts is that the company's games have underperformed.
Now, I mean, specifically not including Pokemon Go, but
Right.
it's important to note that Pokemon Go was actually licensed out to Niantic, so all of the tons and tons and tons of money that they make, it doesn't all go back to Nintendo. But still, Nintendo isn't giving up. Kimishima said last month that the company plans to release 2 to 3 new smartphone games in the financial year ending March 2018. So one of those probably pretty likely to be Animal Crossing, which will be released in the latter half of this year, according to the Wall Street Journal. The Zelda game would probably follow that, according to that article, although they said that the timing and order of the releases could be changed.
As for the new Pokemon trading card game, it would be Pokemon's second online trading card game. The first originally released as a browser-based game in 2011, and then was ported to the iPad in 2014 and Android tablets last year.
Yeah, that would follow the massive, massive, massive success of Pokemon Go, which has made more than $1 billion in revenue.
Wow.
Even though it's not as popular nowadays, a lot of people had fallen off, even though they did add Gen 2 and they're constantly doing events, and I keep getting alerts on my phone like, hey, grass types are out today. It's very exciting. So it's not as popular these days, though. It's still continuing to make more, from anywhere from $1.5 million to $2.5 million per day.
I wish I made $2.5 million per day.
Yeah, me too.
Right? Pokemon Go also rekindled interest in Pokemon, as a franchise.
Overall?
You might remember that Sun and Moon, which came out last year, were also bestsellers, so it's not hard to see why Pokemon would want to come out with a fresh version of their card game for mobile devices. That's also going to be welcome news at Nintendo, which owns 32% of the Pokemon company.
Yeah, overall, it was pretty awesome to see, though, what Pokemon Go did, because it made it the franchise accessible again to a lot of people who played, red or blue or yellow and then fell off, and this sort of brought them back in the fold, and then they picked up Sun and Moon, which is exactly what Nintendo is hoping to do with their mobile phone game approach. Meanwhile, Nintendo has got to be hoping that a mobile Zelda game can continue to ride the renewed popularity of the franchise. Whatever it ultimately looks like, a Zelda mobile game will have some pretty big shoes to fill coming off the success of Breath of the Wild. It's been one of the most acclaimed games of its generation, so the pressure's definitely on to make the mobile Zelda live up to that level of quality.
So, what do you guys think of a mobile Zelda game? Is it something you'd buy? Would microtransactions make you think twice? Let us know in the comments.
And for all your Nintendo news, including their reluctant forays into mobile gaming, make sure you like this video, and if you're new around here, subscribe to The Know.
When I read kicking and screaming, I just imagined someone lassoing a Pikachu.
And go,
and then come with me, and he's like, no, let me go!
Thanks to Blue Apron for sponsoring this update.
Blue Apron helps you become a wonderkind in the kitchen. They offer new recipes for you to try every week with no weekly commitment, so you get deliveries when you want them.
It's pretty nice, because that way if you're busy, you don't have to worry about it. If you're not, you get food.
Yeah.
Every meal comes with a step-by-step recipe card and all the highest quality ingredients you need to make your meal in 40 minutes or less.
You can check out this week's menu and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping when you visit blueapron.com/theknow.
Dude, there's some really good stuff on there this week. There's one I want to try. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, it's roasted onion miso ramen,
Oh.
and everything about that sounds amazing.
I am sold, but there's also the meatballs with tomato sauce.
Classic,
Or
very classic.
the spiced cod with summer squash cakes.
Sounds nice.
Or the
refreshing.
spicy Korean style chicken.
Okay, great, now I'm hungry.